But other than that, it works because we have contention built in. And so we're at one of those points of contention. We're going to have serious contention this time, not just political drama between two people that work for the same WEF, right? And so we're going to have real contention. We're going to take it to the mat. Some things are going to get settled. We're at the 8th. And just say that this represents the emotional swings that everybody's going to be going up through today, right? We're going to have rising tension and we're going to have release tension down to this level. My interest is more focused on the 13th, where my data processing said we would be looking at something like that in terms of our potential range. So significantly, almost twice as high as the, so however much emotional release or building tension you feel today, it's going to be, according to my process, it's going to be much elevated on the 13th, and then that's going to go forward through time nearly to that level for 5 or 6 weeks before we see a significant drop. Now, we need to note that that 5 or 6 weeks is very tentative because the nature of the language is such that, okay, so the projection would be for, there's a month, and there's another month. So there's our 2-month period. There would be 6 weeks. The data sets actually start getting fuzzy in this range, okay, because of the process, because of the censorship and so on. It projects out, but I don't really put a lot of faith much beyond, say, 28, 29 days, because there's a tendency for accuracy to fall off fairly rapidly. Due mostly to censorship and so on. So anyway, though, but for the next 6 weeks, it's projecting that from that point on, we would have very high emotional values, right? Very high building tension and very deep release values. There's not any level of certainty to be able to pin to, say, a cause, right? Because our language is just so polluted by the war that we're in. So I don't trust individual clusters of sets to be accurate in defining the release values or the building tension values. Building tension values, it's a little bit more solid, but release values, you could be anything. So as an example, you could have everybody think that on the 13th we're on the brink of war and in any minute now, and it goes all the way up there, and then it releases very rapidly because all of a sudden we get the word, the French central bank collapsed, right? Something like that. So they're not necessarily in any way pegged to each other. It may just sort of burble along and never resolve itself emotionally because it was hyped, it was shit, and so on. So I don't put too much faith in the outcome of these things relative to the linguistics the way that I did when the net was free and we didn't have all this censorship and crap. Okay, so Jagati. All right, so this would be my particular interest in what's going on relative to the election and so on. Doesn't mean it's going to be resolved by the 13th. Doesn't mean there's going to be civil war on the 13th. None of that. All it means is that there's going to be a higher level of building and emotional tension values on the 13th. The range will be much larger than we have at this moment. But because we're all going through it at this moment, we can assess how we're feeling and say, well, fuck, okay, I know how I'm feeling right now. I better get ready for whatever the hell that is, right? Could be a giant storm, right? Who knows? I mean, like physical storm. Anyway, so that's my interest at the moment. Is not today, it's not the results, it's not the machines crapping out or any of that, but hey, there's an interesting thing on the machines. Okay, so if you go into some of these polling places, and it's not in all of them, here in communist Washington State, we have mail-in voting. We do have the ability to go and track your vote online to see if it was accepted and so on. You don't know that they actually read it accurately, but you do know that they're committed to saying that they received your vote, as opposed to simply voting it for you when they don't receive it, right? So that's what they're waiting for, is to see who sends in votes and who doesn't. Those people that don't send in votes, they go ahead and vote for them the way they want. Anyway, though, so here's something of interest. The Dominion machines are broadcasting out on a Wi-Fi, and that Wi-Fi is Polypad, I think, P-A-D, Polypad, Polypad Wi-Fi, Wi-Fi all in caps, and they're saying that the Dominion people are saying, and the election people are saying that, oh, well, this Wi-Fi connection from Polypad is no big deal because it's just one Dominion machine to another Dominion machine in our little, whatever our state is, right, in sort of this little round robin kind of a communication system. That's what they're claiming it is. The fact that it can be seen by anybody with a phone means it can be hacked by anybody with the tools. And I've taken I actually took all of my Wi-Fi scanning tools and that kind of stuff and took them upstairs. So I don't even have one here to demonstrate. But you go to Hack 5, okay? You can see how easy it is. Hack 5. That's a place where you can get these little pineapple. Their theme is pineapple. But you get these little pineapple devices that you can attach to any USB receiving device. So you can put one on your phone, install the appropriate app, and read and hack into Wi-Fi standing there with your phone. I'm an old school guy, so I would actually put it in on something like a Raspberry Pi with either a little tiny virtual keyboard or a little tiny physical keyboard. Because I would then have the option of putting in more storage. So I could, once I'd found it, then I could just start scanning it with my tools and recording it off in real time and archive it. And then I can go back and analyze it later. I hear people are doing that. Okay, so the places on the deep web where they discuss these kind of things, I have a tendency to go and discuss these kind of things. And so I'm hearing on these deep web sites, and that's really the Tor network. You know, it's just a different, instead of HTML on or some, XML or any of the other variants, HTTP, any of these other variants for the protocol, it just comes down to some other name on a file. It's just a file on a PC. Anyway, though, so I'm hearing on the deep web that some people are doing this, that just on their own, whether the military is doing it or any of that kind of shit, some people are just going around to these polling stations and standing near enough to scan them and record this shit because they're active. So you can actually see the traffic on the Wi-Fi channels with these devices. They get very sophisticated. So that will be interesting to see what comes out from the hacker community and about all of this stuff here, about the actual communication traffic between the Dominion machines. Well, what the fuck are they saying to each other, right? So be able to track it. And the way that they're doing it, at least the one guy, the device he's using it, it's spooling off in real time and it's creating its own continuous read timestamp as it seals up the files. He's doing it onto a PC, not onto a phone. But I bet you there's a lot of people that are doing that. So, I mean, if I were close enough to a polling station and I didn't have any other responsibilities, I would go and do that too, just because it's cool and I've got these devices and I never really get a chance to use them much. Yeah, I used to use them for work, but I don't anymore. So, anyway, and they're fun. You know, it's fun to see what these people are saying to each other when they think that it's not being monitored. Anyway, so there's that. We should see some of that stuff coming out. Maybe it'll be a ton of this crud coming out on the 12th or the 13th. Now, okay, so now on the 12th, there's going to be I'll get the link and put it into the video. There's going to be a seminar on the noosphere, right? Which is the companion concept to the biosphere, which is actually the reason that I'm doing this video quickly, because I don't want to spend all day here. I've got a lot more work. Okay, so on the 12th, there's going to be a seminar, and the panel should be fascinating because they're going to be talking about the noosphere in terms of economics. And all you kids should really pay attention to this because it can give you such an economic edge to be able to analyze the economy and the activity of the social order you're in from an energy level. And it cuts through all the bullshit. So you can have politicians saying blah, 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 but you start analyzing the where we're putting the energy and all of this kind of stuff at a corporate level, and you can get there ahead of it, of the crowds, right? Because you'll be able to say that, oh, look, you know, they're selling off the Strategic Petroleum Reserve and they're saying no more drilling or whatever the hell, right? But concurrently, I see corporations are spending XYZ dollars and putting them into this other aspect of energy generation that's 100% petroleum based and won't take effect for a couple of years, but I can buy in on that. So it's kind of like being able in 1934 to understand that it would be 2 years before there would be any sign of life in the gold mining stocks, right? And so, but it was the time to buy was 34. So it's those kind of things. So, and the noosphere actually really, in terms of a concept, while it allows you to go ahead and, as an individual, allocate any excess calories in the form of excess money to get that money to work for you, to be smart about it, the noosphere is much more important than that. Much more important, totally. The reason it's much more important is because all of this stuff blows away the climate crisis. And it blows away, right at the moment, Macron, okay? Macron is stooge numero uno, right? I know that's not French. But Macron is le stooge. He's le stooge because the WEF has chosen him to go after everybody and to be the harsh taskmaster on climate change, right? Now, understand, we're going to go into it in a second. There is no climate crisis. You're being sold a pack of shit. They're going to keep selling it as hard as they can because it is the ultimate in lockdown psychology. It's a psychological war at a huge level. There is no climate change being caused by humans, and you can actually prove this mathematically, which we'll do in a second. It's not that difficult, but so Macron is coming on out and saying that the U.S., Australia, basically all the other Five Eyes countries we have to pay our fair share for climate change, which, you know, Macron can go and sit on in a spin. There is no climate change. And what they want to do is they want to bankrupt the West with this new excuse, as opposed to the political, so they're shifting political correctness through the application of weaponized empathy to an individual, you know, of another race, another gender, of somebody thinking they're another gender, or thinking they're some kind of a fuzzy elephant or something. You know, that kind of weaponized empathy being focused on individuals, categories of individuals. They've now tried to focus it on Mama Earth, right? Gaia, you got to protect Gaia. And so you got to go and, you know, and put your life at risk and do all this other shit, okay, just to get everybody's attention that they should stop oil now. I saw this video, this totally deluded young woman I mean, absolutely, totally deluded, spewing shit out of her mouth that she had no concept of the science that she was disputing. But anyway, so they are deluded. They're going to be a pain, all of these little climate activist fellows, the Extinction Rebellion kind of, riotty people. Glue yourself to a road. They're going to be a problem going forward because they've been weaponized by the WEF. I actually think we'll have to probably put in re-education camps to educate these people as to what the fuck is going on, because we're actually going into an ice age. And it could be very apparent this year that things are not right in terms of climate, and it ain't global warming. And so, especially one or two volcanoes and you blow the whole carbon emissions control thing of a country for a year. Right? So the whole country starves themselves, doesn't get any oil, doesn't grow shit because they don't have fertilizer, just to save a few carbon emissions, and then boom, volcano goes off in their country and they're fucked. That whole year's worth of that's how goofy this thing is. Okay, so Macron is Le Stooge for the WEF fuckers, right? World Economic Forum, Khazarian Mafia nut jobs. And they're saying that it's up to humans to stop climate change. Now, there is no changing of the climate. Climate is a word that describes change. So we have weather that changes from day to day to day to day. Now, if they were to say, oh, you've got to stop weather change, well, it's like, no, everybody would understand that. You can't stop it from raining. You can't stop the tide from coming. So, I can't stop it from being cloud-free tomorrow, that kind of thing, right? So they say climate, because most people don't think about climate. It's too long duration. So the thing is that they're weaponizing your empathy, and they're controlling the thing that it's fixed on, which is the climate. They're saying the science is settled and all of this, which is horseshit, absolutely horseshit. The minute you settle science and say there's no dispute allowed, you can't talk about this, you can't question it, and that kind of shit. The minute you do that, you don't have science. You have a political policy being an agenda being implemented. So here's the thing about the WEF and all their claims. You'll find this goes all the way back to the 1% claim. Okay, and so they are saying that humans are causing climate change because we're adding 1% to the total overall energy envelope of Earth, and we're heating this up, okay? And this comes from the 1950s. I haven't found the first reference of it, but I've found some of them going back to 1956. And this is humans causing 1% change by pollution. Now, I agree, we got lots and lots of pollution, but even pollution is not what they're telling you. Okay, so here's some of the refutations, the way you can refute these climate fuckers. We do not produce 1%. We don't produce any fucking energy at all. Humans don't produce any energy on this planet, nor do we ever add carbon to this planet. We don't create carbon. We ain't out there creating coal. We're not out there creating trees. We're not out there creating diamonds. We don't create carbon in any form. We create no energy. The only thing humans do is the transformation of energy from one form to another. We transform energy that's already here from one form to another. We don't add anything. We don't add even 1% of the energy on this planet, okay? And this is how sad it is. We don't, okay, so the actual numbers, okay? So we have pollution in our transformation processes, and we can cure our pollution problems independent of the mother weffers. The pollution is not causing any crisis in climate or any of that sort of shit, right? Burning coal in London because the fog would keep the smoke down there and everybody would asphyxiate, but it didn't change the London climate from the 1800s to now, didn't alter it one bit. So there is no climate change that's being caused by humans. Macron is Le Stooge. and he's out there to put a quasi-friendly face up until they rip his face off on the climate hoax. It's everybody, and here's the actual numbers. So there's 24 hours in a day, in one day. There's 365.24, but we're not going to care about that, days in a year. Okay? So now on Earth, the sun sends to Earth every fucking hour. It sends 430 kilojoules. Kilojoules of energy, okay? Every hour it puts that much on. Humans use 410 kilojoules, right? 410. So we don't even use 430. We use 410 kilojoules, and we convert. We don't create these kilojoules. All we do is convert it from the solar energy hitting the planet and causing the carbon through the plants, through photosynthesis, and so on. So if you want to blame somebody for carbon, blame the sun. But we take all of that energy and we convert it, okay? We don't create it. We burn the wood to make the fire. We didn't create the fire and then have wood on it and stuff, right? The wood contributes. So we're converting photosynthesis energy to thermal heat by the way of burning the wood or burning the coal, etc., etc. So all we are conversion critters. So you don't blame you may blame the beaver for a flood in your local field, but you don't blame the beaver for climate change by chewing down that tree. Anyway, but here's a kicker. We convert these 410 kilojoules in a year. Not an hour. The sun outdoes us in an hour for our whole effort as a humanity over a year. Okay, and look, there are 8,760 hours in a year. So humans convert less than 1/8,760th part of the energy that the sun puts out on this planet. So the WEF and Macron, they can go suck a log. This is just bullshit, absolute total fucking horseshit. They say we produce 1%. No fucking way. It's not 1/100. We don't convert that 1% of Earth's energy into another form for our own purposes. We convert less than 1/8,760th part of that energy for our own purposes. So I have no problem at all with the idea that anybody that glues themselves on a road ought to be taken into some place and maybe put into a re-education camp, right? Because they've caused public damage, they've caused, they're inconsiderate, stupid, and deluded, and they need to be re-educated out of that delusion. They need to understand the real relationship of humans to planet Earth. They need a big education in the biosphere. These people, by the way, are probably way too fucking stupid to ever understand the noosphere. So, just wanted to give you something, just wanted to rant. I just wanted to get this out. Macron just really pissed me off. So, I got to think about some nastiness to send his way. But just wanted to let you know about this. And it's going to get worse. They're going to push on this because that's their last and biggest lockdown short of the space alien invasion. And it's too early for them to start thinking about bringing that out. Now, also, I'll put a link in when I get a chance to the seminar on the noosphere that's going to be online. It's an online seminar. I haven't examined the cost or availability or any of that kind of stuff for the 12th. So it'll be available on Saturday if you want to go and watch it. The panel ought to be really interesting because it's going to be getting in, as I say, to the economics of the noosphere. And the way we analyze this is with energy. So you look at an energy calc. One part of 8,760 parts ain't 1%, right? Humans are so lame at transporting and transposing energy from one type to another. We don't even rise to this 1% level. We got a long fucking way to go. But you can use these kind of mathematics in this sensible, rational science to at least chip away at the delusions that these climate riot people are spewing out. Other than that, you know, we got a problem with them because they are true believers and they're weaponized. They'll still be out there thinking that the bullshit that they think is true, which it ain't. So anyway, guys, go and enjoy the rest of the drama as we move through election season into the chaos of the big ugly. All right, stay woo, guys. We'll talk to you later.